Oh, well, would you look at that? If it isn't ye old internet again, talking to me, and I'm talking back. Hello, internet. Good to see you people. So today marks a very auspicious day in the world of Bitcoin. Why is that, you ask? Well, let me tell you. Today happens to mark 15 years since the first Bitcoin transaction between two people's wallets, when Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin, sent 10 Bitcoin to Hal Finney, one of the early developers of Bitcoin. And on this day, January 12th, 2009, it also happened to be precisely one day after the very same Hal Finney, rest his soul, may he rest in peace, after he had posted on January 11th, 2009, a simple tweet that read, "Bitcoin running." And that was that. And that demarked on his Twitter timeline the very fact of the very act of the actual network of Bitcoin being run. Now, why was that important? Well, because Bitcoin had already existed in white paper mode since October 31st / November 1st, depending on what time zone it was actually released in. But it was basically on Halloween or the day after of 2008 that Bitcoin's white paper was published, and the Bitcoin network experimentally was alive. However, it took until the early days of 2009 for Bitcoin to actually be running properly as a network, and thus not only being a means of transacting values through cryptocurrencies that could not be double spent, but also it was running its own security network that would maintain itself as a secure network. And thus would provide its own security, and thus give birth to the concept of don't trust, verify. Bitcoin was and always has been and is a trustless network. People hear that, they come from a traditional world, they think, what? Trustless? That sounds terrible. Actually, it's great. Trustless networks are the ones you can trust. What does that mean? Well, trustless networks are the ones that actually earn your trust by not relying on it. When you go to a traditional bank, you have to trust that they're not going to mess with your funds, that they're not going to lose your funds, that they're not going to invest them poorly and tell you one day, sorry, you can't access your money anymore because we need all that money to pay our debts. And it says here in the fine print, yada, 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 when you put your money in the bank, it is not money. Right? With Bitcoin, if the Bitcoin is in your Bitcoin wallet, there is literally no one that can just take it from you unless you've somehow given them access to your password or your seed phrase, basically giving them access to your wallet. And why would you do that? So you are your own bank when you hold your own Bitcoin. I know that's a concept that many people find surprising, shocking, difficult to comprehend, uneasy, whatever you want to call it. But when you are your own bank, yes, it increases your responsibilities to be more careful with your own assets. At the same time, it's a way of making sure that nobody else has control over your assets. And in a world where banks, frankly, deserve less and less trust as time goes on, more and more banks are messing with their customers and are taking their funds illicitly or through poor management or whatever. It becomes evident through time and history and facts that are irrefutable that having a trustless peer-to-peer network is far more advantageous to every person who holds that asset than to have a system where only the people at the very, very top have all the advantages and everyone else is effectively in servitude to them. There's really no other way to put it. The money that you put into a bank exists in servitude to that bank. Yeah, there are other words you could use, but we'll be nice about it and call it in servitude. Meaning your money is not free. You are not free to use it as you like, because it's not really your money once you put it in the bank that you use. Now, if you happen to have a lot of capital, more than most, well, you can still probably feel quite comfortable in a system like the American banking system or most European banking systems, at least Western European banking systems, and maybe banks in Japan and Australia and other places like that, where they have a strong economy, Canada, Ireland, whatever, UK. And you might feel, this Bitcoin thing is kind of novel, but I don't really need it. Well, maybe for now you can sit there comfortably in your fiat ensconced world and think to yourself that everything is fine. But everything is not fine. Everything is not fine at all in the fiat world. In fact, it is quite evident that things are going to pot, as they say. It's quite evident that there is a lot of shenanigans. There will be lots of shenanigans happening. And for all the shenanigans and bananigans and other danigans, what is evident in the fiat world that is going to pop is that people are resourceful eventually. Some are more resourceful than others. Some are more innovative than others. And some will discover better ways to do things before others. And then the others will follow in all of those venues, because that's human nature. The flock will follow the shepherd, and that's fine. And what we're seeing is that slowly but surely, the flock is following the shepherd when it comes to Bitcoin, turning the world of financial transactions and other value transactions on its head. Now, it's been doing this since its very earliest days in 2009. And now we're 15 years into it. Happy birthday, Bitcoin Transaction Day. And happy 15th birthday plus one Bitcoin Network Day. Right? We've been doing this now for 15 years and have been watching as more and more people question the network and then partake in it. And that's a good thing. Skepticism is a very important part of adoption. And we're seeing without question that the adoption is happening. Some will say, oh, it's taking too long. Really? You really think it's taking too long? Okay. Well, the internet exploded. The web went wild worldwide practically overnight, people will say. Really? You believe that? The internet was almost 30 years old. It was like 25, almost 30 years old by the time the web became super popular and wasn't anywhere near, and when I say super popular, I mean hundreds of millions of people, not even billions. So Bitcoin in 15 years has reached hundreds of millions of people. Whether they all have accounts or not is moot. They are aware of it. Whether they all use it or not is also moot, as they are aware of it. And awareness is a big factor. Not everybody has US dollars, but anybody who uses money pretty much anywhere on earth is aware of the US dollar. And the same goes for Bitcoin. Not every Bitcoin. And frankly, most people may never have it. But the number of people that do have it significantly. And the scale at which people have adopted it is right on schedule for global adoption, even if that doesn't mean that everyone will use it, or not even most people. But it will become a global currency, as it already has become a currency that is accepted for settling all debts in various countries. And frankly, that's a good thing. So as we watch the network continue to grow, I have only what to say. Happy Bitcoin Day to you. And that's that. Cheers.